Hey, I'm going to show you how to create a template for your genealogical research notes. Several of you have requested that I do this to kind of create a template for your genealogy research notes that you can use over and over again. So we're going to do that today. I'll show you how to do this in Microsoft Word, but you can create this in any word processing program like Google Docs, which is free. But today we're demonstrating it in Microsoft Word. Plus, I've already created one for the information access level channel members and some of the select patrons for download. I'll have both the Microsoft Word version and a Google Docs version coming up. Hey, welcome back to another episode on Genealogy TV. If this is your first time here, my name is Connie Knox. I am a lifelong genealogist here to help you go further, faster, and factually with your family history research. Now, Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Make sure you're hooked up with all of those. If you like what I do, consider becoming a channel member. And in this case, if you are an information access level channel member, you can download this template. All right, all you have to do is click join if that's something you want to do. All right, these research notes, this template that I've created, is really something that you can use over and over again. But first, before you use it, make sure you save it as, do a save as, whatever the ancestor name is that you want to write about. And remember that there's one document, one set of research notes per ancestor. All right, I'm going to show you how to create your own template here in just a moment. This template that I created for the channel members also includes all of the rules and kind of a structure so that you are consistent in the way you are doing things. So let's jump over to the computer and I'll show you how to do it. All right, so here we are. We're going to talk about how to create these research notes, and I realize that this is really hard for you to see, but this is the template that I've been talking about. And here we're gonna talk about it, but these on the blue side here are the instructions. You would eventually want to just kind of highlight all of that and delete that out of there, but they are there for you for those who are channel members and want to download it. In the meantime, we can dig in and show you how to create this template for your research notes. As an example, here is one that is real, that is from my great-grandmother from Denmark. And if we zoom in a little bit, zooming in a little bit, we can show you that in the header I put her original birth name as it was when she was in Denmark, and then we just continue to add information in chronological order. Some of this is abstracts from different records, and then I also include some of the source citations. We go down to the next page. I even include links sometimes, and you'll find that your research notes are never perfectly polished, ever. But this is an example of one that I actually haven't even touched this one in probably 5 years, but I just pulled it up as an example. So here's the template, and if we zoom in a little bit, I've got notes on really kind of how it works and the rules for keeping the research notes in the style in which I do it. So one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to want to change the header. So this blue bar across the top is the header, and so this is a template that you can use over and over again. And by the way, before you do anything, you want to copy, do a file, save as, right? And save it as whatever document you want to save it as. So you want to use the surname first in bold, followed by the first name and middle name, and then you'll want to call it Research Notes. Now, in front of all of that, I like to put a 1 because the 1 allows the record to rise to the top, and I keep that one set of research notes for everything I do. You've got the one set of research notes. Hopefully you've got backup copies in the cloud or someplace. But I keep this one set of research notes over and over and over again. And I just keep adding. I'll insert in the middle of it. I might go something like this. And then I'll type whatever the newest information is. And then along the way, you also want to keep your source citations. We'll talk more about that in a moment. So let's start with the header. So we've got a header. And down here at the bottom, we've got a footer. Okay. The header is going to contain your ancestor's name. So all you have to do in Word is double click on it. And now we've accessed the header information. And you would highlight this information and change it to whatever you want it to change it to. Or you can just backspace. You can click at the end and backspace this way. Okay. So when you're done, you want to come to the top here. It says close header and footer. Okay. But before you do, you might want to scroll down and change the footer. And change this to have your information on there so that whoever inherits those records knows who wrote these notes. If you end up giving this to an archive, a local library, hand it down to your children or your grandchildren, this is part of your legacy, the stuff that you are leaving behind. And so you want to have your name on it. Okay? So when we're done, we come back up to the top and we hit close header and footer. And now we are back. We've closed this off and it will appear in every page from then on. Also in the footer, and we can double click that again to open it, I've added a page number. And in this information on the ribbon, you can add page numbers in the way you wish to add it, however you want to add it. It gives you a lot of different templates. If you want to change the footer completely, you can choose whatever style you want. If you want to keep the style that I've provided here, all you need to do is nothing really, because the page numbers are already in there. All you need to do is change your name and contact information. Personally, I usually put my email address and sometimes a phone number on there, but when I'm gone, that's going to be irrelevant information, but certainly, maybe your name and the location in which you wrote it, like the town. Okay, so we're going to close the header. We're going to come up to the top and we're going to start with this first one. So everything is in chronological order, and I just created some very generic titles. You can delete all of these if you want, but I was giving examples of that you start with the date and you put it in bold, okay? And then you can create the format in which you want. This is the way I work. I use bold, born, or the event, whatever the event is. So they were born, and I keep that in bold as well. So they were born in a place, right? So we're going to replace that with place. And then you want to follow it with details or reference note as to where you found that information. And here I included an example with a little arrow here of the source citation. So if you double click on that little number, it takes you to the footnotes. And if you want to learn how to create a footnote of your own, I will show you how to do that here in just a moment. So here we've got birth source citation. You can highlight that and type over it, whatever it is you want to type in there. Or you can write a proper source citation. Again, I usually reference Evidence Explained for that. But here's the thing about source citations. You want to actually put the information where you got it. So if you found it on Ancestry, or you got it from Aunt Mabel, or you got it wherever you got it from, you want to put that information here. Honest to God, it doesn't really matter if you write a super proper source citation, as long as you can leave a trail that somebody else can follow. So when you're reading it back to yourself, think of it as, can somebody 100 years from now understand where you got that information? Now, you could also include a website link, but website links change. Places like Ancestry and Family Search, those are probably stable URLs and they're probably not going to change. But if you have a private website or a repository that may not be as stable, you might put a link to it in there as well as the information that you got it from. But, 100 years from now, that link is probably going to be broken. Okay? Now, maybe at Ancestry and Family Search and Find My Past and those guys, maybe not, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I would definitely put, I found it at the, county library or the county courthouse in so-and-so county, record book number, and just list it out however you want. Now, there are proper ways to write that, and you can, again, reference Elizabeth Shown Mill's book, Evidence Explained, and I'll leave a link to that in the show notes as well. Again, if you double click on that number, when you see that pop-up show up, you double click on it, it's going to take you straight to the source citation. However, let's insert something here. So we're going to insert, we'll just call it something. How's that? And then we're going to add a footnote. So how you do that is you go up to References and you hit Insert Footnote, and it inserted a footnote down here at the bottom. And then I can type something, whatever that is, and there you have the footnote. So if you'll notice, that became number 2 when we inserted in the top. Before, this number 3 was number 2. So the cool part about footnotes is you don't have to retype all those little numbers. They do it for you when you are using the insert footnote comment. The reason why I use footnotes is because if you're creating a set of notes like this and you are putting all the source citation within your research notes, it's just a lot to read through. So I prefer to use footnotes. Now, as a side note, my notes are getting confused. As a side note, there is a difference between footnotes and endnotes, okay? Endnotes go at the end of a document, like at the end of a book. You want to use footnotes in genealogy documents like this because footnotes stay on the same page as the information, okay? So as we insert information, let me scroll down. As we insert information, these footnotes are going to bump over to the next page because you can't fit it all on one page, right? So if we added a bunch of information in here, then some of these bottom footnotes and the information that goes with it will bump over to the next page as we insert more and more information. So the idea is, as you are working on your ancestor, you continue to insert information in chronological order in your research notes. And again, keep one master set of research notes. It's always good to have a backup somewhere, but remember that one set of research notes because you always want to go back to that same document over and over again. Also, you want to keep one set of research notes per ancestor. Now, occasionally you will have a story or something that happens to the whole family. And so what I recommend you do is you write a story separate and apart from your research notes, but you write a story about that event, whether it's a wedding or a flood or something that happened in the family. Instead of writing it all in your research notes, you make reference to that story in your research notes. So for example, maybe the family was flooded out of their home in 1942. I'm making this up, but so you would go in here and insert in 1942, you would actually insert something like this. Hang on. Let's go here. I'm just making it up. But you would go, January 1942 flood. And then you would go and type just a brief excerpt of the information about the flood, okay? And then, so, let's call it an abstract. Whoops, let's turn off bold. And then you can go type information about this flood just briefly, but you've got the full story, so then to read the full story, see such and such a document, right? And then I'm just going to put a reference note again. It's not in the insert tab, it's in the references tab that you go insert a footnote. And then you can write about the flood, who authored it, right? And where you can find it, okay? You want the title. I'm calling it Story About the Flood, but you want to title it. And now those stories also have proper source citations. Again, Evidence Explained can give you proper sources for that. Now, if you put it on a web page, a blog post, any kind of online repository, you could include a link here if you wanted to. Okay, back up to the top. Continue on with your information. All of this information I have given you just brief ideas of what it would be that you would put there. And for the census records, what I do is I abstract that information. So I literally read into my microphone, John Doe, age 21, just read it right off the lines as you are seeing it on the census, and I just abstract that right into my research notes, because it's not so much information that I need to have a full transcript somewhere else. And then you can make reference to it. Now, I included in this template some standardized kind of proper source citations, but depending on where you found that information, you would want to change it. So most of these, for the census records, I've included source citations specific to just kind of a generic version of what a source citation for the 1790 census would look like if it was found on Ancestry. In fact, I think I did all of these as if they were found on Ancestry.com. But you would simply, if you found it on Family Search, you would simply just change that information. All of this information, it would be changed to Family Search. On this template, I've also given you just a brief note, came from Nora, that explains the dates of the different census records. And that's important when you're trying to calculate someone's age. If it says somebody is 42 and, the census was taken on June 1st, you can kind of figure, have they had a birthday yet? Have they not had a birthday yet? If you're trying to figure out the age of someone. And in some of the censuses, obviously, they show the age, show the birth year. That is it in a nutshell. I've got the template here if you want to use it. If not, you can build your own. And again, the template is available for select patrons and definitely for the access level channel members. As a reminder, channel members get early release to all the videos. Channel members that have the information access level, they're getting access to the handouts and the documents for all the videos that I have done. If that is something that you are interested in, click the join button to learn a little bit more. Now, there are more videos on the screen for you now that you may not have seen, and they might help you with your research notes. All right, go check them out. Until next time, keep on climbing your family tree.